Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published so they can inform their consumers, grow their businesses, and leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable experts from across the country and in your town. Joining me on this segment is Ana Cunha. She's the founder and president of Fontes Consulting based out of Miami, Florida. Ana, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me here. It's such a pleasure.
Ana, tell us a little bit about Fontes Consulting and who are your clients? Who do you specifically help?
Yeah, I work with companies, worldwide, helping them to expand their international footprint. And usually it's small and medium-sized companies because nowadays, companies need to think globally from the start. And that's why we see so many startups now booming, right? Because they are taking space of, big companies. So it's just a matter of finding if there is demand for their products in other markets. And that's, when I come in and I do market research and I study the market and see if there is business opportunities. So I help them to plan and build strategies to enter a new market. And usually I work with, all continents, companies located anywhere. But in the last 2 years, I decided to focus more in the Latin America markets because I'm originally from Brazil and I live in the US. I'm an American citizen as well. So I'm working as a bridge between Brazilian companies and American companies because I see so many business opportunities, in both markets. So I'm helping American companies to grow, expand in the Brazilian market and vice versa. Brazilian companies expand in the US.
I'd imagine it's a huge mystery for a lot of companies on how to get anything going in another country where they know nothing about. When you say like seeing if a product has a demand in a certain country, is that the number one challenge, or what are the number one or two challenges that companies have to even get started in another country?
Yes, there's so many challenges. And one big thing for me, and I focus a lot of this, first thing, the company, the product needs to, have demand in that market. But many times after we do a study, what is very important is for the companies to make, to adapt themselves before they go to that specific market, because culture is different. It's not just the language, the way, consumers buy, the consumer behaviors, and, so many things are different. And we really need to, pay close attention to those things and prepare the company before they actually expand. And one big mistake that I see happening everywhere, despite the size of the company, is that companies usually, when they are expanding internationally, they focus on their products or services and they forget the market they are entering. So they don't prepare themselves, they don't make the adjustments, they don't adapt their products to that new market. And then it's a big, big mistake, millions of dollars wasted. And we see that it's not just for, it doesn't happen just with the small companies. We have several examples like Home Depot, for example, a giant. When Home Depot went to China in 2006, I believe, they bought HomeAway, which was a Chinese company. The same kind of, Home Depot, but in China, but they didn't do their homework. They didn't study culture and all that. So after, a few years, they closed all the stores because, they didn't understand the Chinese culture. And Chinese don't see the do-it-yourself, mindset the same way Americans do. So there's so many challenges, but studying the culture and adapting the company to that market is very, very important.
That's a really fascinating and interesting case study there. And, it's also interesting you mentioned that mistake of not understanding the market and focusing just on their product. And that's actually a very common and huge marketing error in just advertising and marketing in your own country. People focusing on what it is we have and all the fancy, great things it does rather than figuring out if the market actually wants it.
Exactly. And companies assume because they have very, success in their original country, they'll have the same success in other countries. And that you can't assume that. It's very different. And also, Mark, something very important that I also help companies. Nowadays, digital marketing is so important, and especially when we talk about global markets. It's very important that the company works and have a digital presence, a strong digital presence. So that's something else that I do. When I start to work with a company, I take a look at where the company is today in their markets, and then where it needs to be before it enters the new market. So I work with the whole digital image of the company everywhere, right? Because sometimes also the companies, they are not looking into expanding a new market, but they want to attract international customers. So that's another thing that I help them to. And then they need to have a strong, digital presence, and that goes everywhere: social media, LinkedIn, their website, and so many things. And this is very important.
Do you find that a lot of companies are quick to say, "Hey, let's think globally," or do people think it's like, "Oh, this sounds complicated. I'm just going to focus here in my home country"?
Yeah, for most companies, it sounds too complicated. And fear, they are so, fear is something that blocks them. And that's why it's very smart to look to get professional help and to really invest in that study, someone that understands that specific market to really, build a roadmap for them,
So
because it needs to start the right way from the beginning. Otherwise, it's a waste of time and money. So it's
I
very
know
complex.
that there's probably a long process involved, but could you give us like a 10,000-foot view of like how you would take a startup that doesn't even know where to begin? Like when you meet with them, what kind of phases are you going to walk them through?
Sure. First thing, I used to say that I take like an X-ray of the company. So I understand the whole process, the business model, the products, of course. If it's something very innovative, very creative, that makes my job much easier, right? Because that's something easier to sell and to promote and to attract in the new market. But so I take an X-ray of the company. I look for the things that could be a problem in that specific market, things that need to be adjusted. I look for the strengths and weaknesses. And then I study the market where they are planning to enter and compare them with competitors in the market. And the goal is always to find, how they can differentiate, because I don't want my customers to be just one more in that market. We want to gain market share. We want to be successful there. So I look at the company as a whole, look for the strengths, for the weakness, compare them to the competitors, and then we do a very deep study to see how we can stand out from the competition, how we can bring innovation to that market, how we can bring solutions to the customers, because nowadays it's all about bringing solutions. It's not about selling products, right? And marketing, talking about marketing, how can we build a strategy where we'll have our customers selling our products? Because it's not salespeople that sell products anymore. It's our customers, right? You talk to your friend, you post what you just bought. We're so happy with something that you just bought. So that's the idea. And so that's kind of, like that. Then we build the marketing strategy and the plan, and we actually open the company in the new market, but following a very detailed roadmap.
It sounds like a really a 360 solution, if you will. You said something really interesting, Anna. You said that if a product or a service is very unique and one of a kind and new, it's easier for you to get to that. Is it because of the uniqueness that you can create those hook points that get people interested versus something that may be more of a commodity with a lot of competition?
Yes, it's the uniqueness is everything. I think people nowadays, we are looking for new for solution. So if it's a product that's just unique but doesn't bring any solution, that's not gonna help anybody, right? But if it's something that will bring a really solution to the market, then it's very, for me, I love working with those products because we are bringing solutions. And to me, I'm all about bringing solutions and promoting products that bring solutions.
Anna, tell us a little bit about, what inspired you to get into this international business development and marketing. And you mentioned earlier, tell us a little bit about how you were working in all different countries. How do you gain the knowledge in each of the different marketplaces? And now you're focusing on Brazil, where you're from, so you know that market very well.
Right.
Tell us a little bit more about how you got started.
Yeah, I was always fascinated by different cultures, different countries, and exploring, what the world has, to offer to us. So that always fascinated me. And I lived in France when I was, long time ago, and start exploring Europe, exploring new countries. So I knew I want to do something where I would have a chance to be in contact with different cultures. And so when I moved to the US, I was just doing marketing, but I had a job. I was in a job at that time that gave me the opportunity to travel, worldwide. And that showed me that I really should be doing that. So for that company, I was opening new markets. And when the 2008 crisis came, in the US first, and then the rest of the world, the company I was working for closed the doors and I lost my job. And once that happened, my customers from that company, they kept calling me, Anna, I need this, Anna, can you help me with that? I spent a month helping them, just helping, until I said, oh, I think the universe is telling me, that this is a business opportunity for me. So that's when in January 2009, I opened my consulting business. And my first customers were, my former companies that I was working for was their customers. They became my customers. And then was just a word of mouth. And I used to say that I'm a marketing expert, but I don't do marketing for myself because it's, recommendations. And I'm very proud to say that. So
Just
it's
like the businesses that you help, you don't sell your products; that your customers sell your products.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly that. So my passion is for marketing in different cultures, and to me, there's nothing more inspiring than seeing a customer, a company expanding sales. That's why I love working with companies that not companies that are very solid already and they're not looking for growth. I look for companies that have problems or companies that have big goals, expansion goals. So that's what I want to see my customers, you know, going up. So
That
that's
that makes a lot of sense because you don't have to want success for them more than they do for themselves. So
exactly, yes.
so Anna, for folks listening now that really realize, hey, I do need to think globally, and they could use your help. How do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Sure, yes. My website is fontesconsulting.com. I also created a YouTube channel during the pandemic. I want to keep sharing my knowledge about new markets, consumer behaviors, business trends, and all that. So I created a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com and slash Ana Cunha, and Instagram, Ana Cunha underscore Miami.
Terrific. Anna, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you so much, Mark. It was a pleasure being here, and thanks for inviting me again.
Ana Cunha, and she's the founder and president of FontesConsulting.com, based out of Miami, Florida. And this segment's been brought to you by BooksGrowBusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate their consumers, build their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.